Right and wrong is a perception of the individual. Therefore, there is no right and wrong. Miri Shabaka, Ursa Ma'atra, and knowledge is infinite. Therefore, evolution is inevitable.
Welcome to Paradigm Shift TV 314. This is your brother Pianki Ptah Mutulu Nefer Amun Ra. And we got a powerful show ahead for you, but before we get into that, let me do my usual welcome. Let me say hotep to my fellow Kemetic brothers and sisters. Let me say shalom to my Christian brothers and sisters. Let me say Islam to my Moorish brothers and sisters. Let me say shalom to my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters. Let me say assalamu alaikum to my brothers and sisters in the NOI. And let me say jambo to the rest of my brothers and sisters throughout the African diaspora, be it here in the wilderness of the United States of America or beyond. I say that welcome for one reason and one reason only. It's because if you are Black, I'm with you, and I hope that you are with me. And that our particular ideologies don't serve to divide us, but actually help us come together. We can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable. With that said, we have our brother, Trust and Believe the Gospel, with us, and we're about to get it in. Brother, reintroduce yourself to the people.
Oh, how y'all doing out there, man, on the Paradigm Shift TV? Of course, it's me, Nobody, from Trust and Believe the Gospel. I'm looking forward to having I guess you call it a debate/discussion with my brother Pianki today, man, and just want to give a shout out to all y'all out there and hope y'all learn something today.
Indeed. So me and my brother are going to be discussing a popular issue. It's can Black people be racist? I personally don't think so. I think we can be bigoted. I think we can be prejudiced. I don't think we can be racist. My brother, on the other hand, has a different outlook. And so we're going to kind of chop it up and give our reasons why we feel the way we feel.
You want me to open up?
It's on you, brother. I'm going to let you open up. Guess first.
All righty.
Let me mute my mic.
Okay. From everybody who know me from the first time I've been on the channel, you know I like to use definitions. So therefore it is no confusion. And majority of us all agree on definitions because when we use words based on the definition. So right now I want to read the definition of racist. And as Brother Pianki said, he agrees that Black people can be prejudiced. Well, the first word in the definition says prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior. And number two says the belief that all members of each race possesses characteristics or abilities specific to that race, especially so as to distinguish it as inferior or superior to other races or races. So we see off the definition that, a lot of people may think that racism or racist is particularly hating somebody of another race. Well, that's not the end all be all. If you feel that you are superior to another race based off of different abilities, then that's also racist. Now, we all know people or have seen videos online of Black people who feel like they are superior to other people. Me, coming from the Christian worldview, I can show hundreds of videos from, let's say, Black Hebrew Israelites, GMS specifically. I can show several videos where they are out on street corners telling you how superior the Black man is to the white man, telling you how inferior the white man is to the Black man, telling you that they're prejudiced and discriminate against white people. So if I could only just show one person of skin color, of dark Black skin color, whatever you want to call it, if I could only just show one person who fit this description, that would be enough. But I could show groups of people who fit this definition of racism. So therefore, I believe that not just black people, according to the definition, anybody could be racist based off of the definition. That's my time, bro.
All right, all right. And I figured our brother would likely go to the dictionary definition of racist or racism, and that's fine. I understand that. Don't necessarily have an issue with it, but we know that sometimes words and definitions sort of evolve and take on different meanings and different connotations. And for us in particular, black people around this world, I believe that the term racism has evolved or devolved, however you want to say it, to have multiple meanings. And one of those is a system of power and control, and the ability to control through that system of systemic oppression, degradation, and racism, for lack of a better term. And this is why I say black people can't be racist, because we don't have that control. We don't have that authority. We don't have that power to control the fate of another people. I say we can be bigoted because we can have bigoted opinions. We can be prejudiced because we can prejudge just like any other people. But when it comes to using our power or our position of power to control another people's fate or to impose our will on another people, we just simply don't have that. We never have in this country. We are the victims of that and have been not only in this country but around the world. And I just read this quote, and it's from our brother Steve Bitko. It says, "A man cannot hate the whip with which he is being flogged, but then be expected to love the person doing the flogging. When such a black man lying helpless, bleeding on the ground expresses hate for the white person wielding the whip, is it only reasonable? Or it is only reasonable." Now, that hate is a reaction to the systemic injustice, oppression, and racism that black man has felt, that black man has had to endure. But that black man, with all his hate, with all his rage, with all his anger, still has no power to inflict that very thing onto that white man. He can only feel it. He can only react to it emotionally. He can react to it physically in some instances, but he has no power beyond that. Not in the same with the same potency as his counterpart. And so, from that context, black people can't be racist.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Now, coming from your context, I would agree. Black people do not have the power to enforce their racism on another race if they decided to discriminate against or treat them however they see fit. I agree with that. But as I alluded to earlier, the definition of racism implies that. The quote that you gave of the flogging, the person who's being flogged can hate the person who flogged them. That doesn't give them the excuse to hate a whole race or to be racist against another race because of what one person did. And this is why the definition of racism or racist doesn't necessarily use the term hate, because you can hate another person of your own skin color doesn't mean you're racist towards the race of that person, especially if they are your own skin color. So as I was saying, yes, I do agree to your context that we don't have the power, but I still disagree that an individual can't be racist under whatever circumstances based off the definition, because hating another person for something that they did doesn't equal to discriminating against an entire race of people for what a person or persons have done to you. So those would be two totally separate issues and two totally separate subjects, because as I was saying, a child can hate their mother for what they did or hate their father for what they did. Doesn't mean that they hate the whole group of people that are the race that their mother and father is. So in the quote that was given, the quote is understood, but it doesn't define racism. It defines hate towards a person or a race of people more than it defines the definition of what racism is. So again, I agree with your context of the power, but I disagree with an individual of whatever skin color cannot be racist based on thinking that your group is superior to another group in any way. Now, me personally, I'm not racist, but I do hold an opinion, and this is just my opinion. I believe that Black people are more athletic. I believe that Mexicans work the hardest. I believe that Chinese are the smartest. I believe that white people are the best philosophers, so far and so on. So if I was to base my opinion, which is not true, it's just my opinion, but if I was to take that opinion as my worldview, then I would be a racist. You know what I'm saying? But that's just my opinion. But the fact is, it's not proven that every Mexican works harder than a Black person. It's not proven that every Black person is more athletic than a Chinese person. It's not proven that every Chinese person is smarter than a Black person. Those things come based off of our characteristics as an individual, because you can be Black and don't have no athletic skills at all. You can be Chinese and the dumbest person in the world. You can be Mexican and the laziest person in the world. So me, even though I have an opinion, which is my opinion, I don't let my opinion affect the fact. You see what I'm saying? So I feel as if when it comes to racism, certain people do let their opinion or how they feel override what the fact is. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing, because you broke it down that you're not using the definition. You're using your context of what racism is. And that's much respect and that's much peace, because at least you're showing people who know how to listen to a conversation, don't take what I'm saying and misrule my words. Take what I'm saying for what I'm saying. So I give you credit and big ups, because you are differentiating the two, unlike other people who may just say, well, it's this way because it's this way. So I give you big props on that. And thank you for letting the people know that I was using the definition too and not going off my opinion as well.
I appreciate the respect you're giving me, bro. And yeah, I'm gonna try to keep it as honest and keep it as genuine as I can. You know, I believe, you know, wholeheartedly in what I'm saying, but I also respect where you coming from. And, you know, you can't do nothing but respect, the dictionary definition of the word. My point is to point out that there are certain things, certain events that we just can't ignore throughout history, particularly in the history of the United States. James Baldwin once said, to be a Negro in America and be relatively conscious is to be in an almost constant state of rage. I agree with that assessment. And if that's true, then again, my assertion that we are merely responding and reacting to the racism, the oppression, the degradation, the disrespect that we've been given is more or less what we see taking place. The individuals you spoke about, the Hebrew Israelites, their doctrine is a reaction to white supremacy. They have no power. They're not even believed by most people with any knowledge or scholarly aptitude. They're not taken seriously by very many people. And don't get me wrong, any organization like that has to be taken seriously in a certain regard. But what I mean is, they don't elicit any influence or any power over the people who they claim to be superior over. It's a reaction to the oppression that our people have been under since we've come to this country. It's a reaction to the treatment our people have been given since we've come to this country. And that's pretty much what we have. Again, to be a Negro in America and be relatively conscious is to be in an almost constant state of rage. Why? Because you are constantly reminded of the fact that you don't matter in this country. We just talked about the brother Ahmaud Arbery, who was gunned down by 2 white men. This brother had no power, had no protection, had no anything when it came to saving his life against these 2 racist individuals who took it up on themselves to go stop this black man from jogging because he had visited a house that was under construction. We look at the videotapes, white people have visited that house as well. It's on camera. They didn't take it upon themselves to go looking for any white people who had been at the house. And for weeks, nothing was done about it. They didn't do a day in jail for weeks. We go back to Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, Eric Garner, Philando Castile, Oscar Grant. You can take a black person's life, Sandra Bland, in this country with impunity. You don't have to be a police officer. These 2 gentlemen weren't police officers, neither was the coward George Zimmerman. But you can take a black person's life with impunity. And then we have to sit back and watch the victim become victimized all over again when his life or her life is put on trial by going back in their past and talking about whether they used marijuana, or whether they drank, or what they posted on social media to try to justify their victimization, because we have no power to be racist. We get gunned down and they figure out a way to justify our victimization. That does not happen with the other side of this equation because they have the power to be racist. We don't. We can be enraged, we can be prejudiced, we can be bigoted. And to me, it's all understandable considering what we've had to endure in this country. But we have no power to exhibit racism. We have no power to oppress, to degrade, to malign. We don't have that. We don't have a power to take a life and then put that victim's life on trial to justify taking their life. We don't have that. They have that as it pertains to us all day long. They do it every time. Trayvon Martin is stalked and murdered by the coward George Zimmerman, and the next thing you know, his bastard of a brother is on TV talking about Trayvon Martin brought it on himself, and they showing him smoking weed and posing in particular ways on Facebook as if that justifies this man obeying an order from the 911 operator to not follow this boy. He was a boy, and gun him down and murder him. Mike Brown, 8 feet away from an officer. Eyewitnesses saying he had his hands up, and this officer said his life was in danger and he had to put him down. Eric Garner screaming, "I can't breathe," and they want to talk about he was selling illegal cigarettes. Sandra Bland, all of a sudden they digging into her past. The narrative continues because they have the power to be racist. We don't. And that's all I'm trying to say. So that's my time on this one. It's on you, my brother.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as I alluded to earlier, like I said, having power doesn't negate the feeling of being racist. You don't have to have power to be racist. It's kind of like saying you have to have power just because you dislike someone. I mean, you don't have to have any kind of power to feel a certain way about somebody. So, yeah, having a system or institution for a person or persons who are racist to have power over a person, all that means is they get to play out their racism against another group. Doesn't mean that the person who doesn't have power is not racist, because as I said, we can hate somebody without hating an entire culture, because a person or group of people can do something. That don't mean that every individual of that race or group did it or felt that way. For example, we all disagree when somebody says, well, all black people are thugs. Now, the black people who are thugs might don't disagree with that, but I'm pretty sure people like me and brothers like you who maybe used to be thugs but are now grown men with wives and husbands, and we don't teach our kids that stuff. We also tear down those things and teach our kids to go in the opposite direction. Well, any kind of person from another race who feels that way would be wrong. So in that same way as being black people, for us to stereotype all white people or any other group of people and say that we should be racist, which means hating the whole group because of what a certain person or person has done, that still doesn't add up to the power that somebody may have in order to express their racism over their person. And I'm saying that to say because a person cannot have legal power, but they can have a gun, and that's power. And if they're racist, and just say being black, let's say if I'm a black man and I'm racist, if I'm racist and I hate white people, I have power in this gun where I can go and take another white person's life as well. So I might not have power as in the legal system, but I can have power to take another person's life. So really what we're fighting over is inequality and injustice, because we can feel a type of way about a person or a system, and really what we want is equality and for this not to be unjust. We don't have to be racist towards a group of people in order to get equality or an injustice fixed, or to bring that argument to the table and make people wake up. Because what's the quote? 2 wrongs don't make a right. You see, because it's like, if you're doing something wrong, let's say if white people being racist is wrong, and how am I right to be racist back towards them if being racist is wrong? If they're being racist and I'm being right, I need to get them to see how their racist is wrong and to be right too. It's not equal for me to be racist back towards a racist. Now, I could want equality towards their racist. I could want justice for what their racists have did. Let's say, for example, in the Eric Gardner case, and in the Trayvon Martin case, and in the Sandra Bland case, we're not wrong for wanting justice for what happened to those people. We are wrong to hate the whole group of people that this person come from who committed those acts. And that's what I'm saying. Now, on the Arbery case, yeah, you know, I don't believe nobody should be killed for something that they did in the past. I don't care what it is. I mean, just go serve your time for whatever it is. But at the same time, we can't act as if people don't have background. Now, I don't think nobody should be killed for their background, but I do believe that people's backgrounds should be shown, not just in murder cases, in every case, to show what this individual is like. And I'm going to give my reasons why. Before Hitler got into power, if we would have known that Hitler was the type of person that he was before he got into power, he should have already been off. Why wait until this person get into power and go kill 600 million some people? If we would have had Facebook and the internet and all that stuff at that time, and we saw that this dude had this type of mentality at 16, 17, 18, then some should have been dead about that stuff then. But, of course, we didn't, and it is what it is. I'm just naming him as an example, or other individuals. Now, there's still no excuse, like, as I said earlier, for somebody to be killed. I believe that justice should be served on anybody in any manner when it comes to anything, and I believe that every person deserves to have their right, their day in court in defense of whatever crime they committed. I don't believe nobody should be gunned down like a dog for any reason or any manner unless that person is posing a threat and where that's the only way that this situation was going to be under control. Other than that, I believe everybody should have their day in trial. So I'm in no defense of any black or white person being murdered under the hands of any black, white, or Mexican person. Now, when it comes to the law, there are no perfect police departments. My family is made up of military people, and I also have black people who are cops. I also know stories of where black cops have killed white people that don't make the national news. I also know stories of white cops who have killed white people that don't make the national news. It only seems like the cases where a white cop kill a black cop makes the national news. And this is just my opinion. And if you go down my Facebook timeline, I've been talking about a race war for probably the last 7 years. And in my opinion, since I know it's strong over here in America and not in the rest of the world, we know that America is already divided. Now, some of these cases are right. I ain't going to say some. The majority of these cases are right. A lot of these white cops shooting these black people were unjust. I'm not denying that at all. But what's crazy to me, I'm not going to say funny, what's crazy to me is that there could be a same story on a different race, and that story doesn't make national news. And I don't feel like they do that by coincidence. They want the divide in this country. And as I said a while ago, there are no perfect people. Everybody makes a mistake, or some people don't make mistakes. There are racist people on the police force. Like I said, I know black cops who will tell you that there are racist people on the police force, but they are few and in between, because there is no police authority over these people who can flat out see that these people are racist and will fire these people, whether that's a black person, a white person, or a Mexican person. So I'm saying all that to say what happened to us in America as black people and injustice and things along those lines are still based off of the individual, of the person who does those things. We cannot put those things on every individual in the same way that another race can't say that all black people are thugs, even though we have thugs in our culture, even though we have burglars in our culture, we have gangbangers and all that. They can't make a stereotype and say that all black people are that way, in the same way that we as black people can't make a stereotype and say all white people are a certain way based off the individual actions of certain people. And not to be long-winded, but I'm saying that stuff to say when it comes to racism, racism isn't based off of if you have the power to enforce your racism on another race. Racism, according to the definition, is how you feel towards another race, regardless of your position in life.
All right, brother, that's peace. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to let you close, and I'm going to close. And, you know, we'll let the people decide, you know, who got the better of this dialogue. But I appreciate your participation.
Yes,
That
sir.
said, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like when it comes to what you said about law enforcement, I feel like you're being a little bit naive. And I say that because it was an FBI report that said white supremacists have infiltrated law enforcement, and that was a few years back. And if that's true, if we are to believe the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, then how deep does that go? And when we see unarmed black men and women being killed at a high rate, when we don't see it on the opposite end of the spectrum at as a high rate, I'm talking about we got school shooters, mass shootings. If they don't off themselves 9 times out of 10, they taken in alive. Dylan Storm Roof goes into a church, kills 9 people, and he's taken alive. Matter of fact, I think they took him to get a burger. All of these incidents, we see armed militia getting in the officer face. Nothing happens. But a black man got his phone in his hand in Sacramento and he gunned down. Black men and women, or particularly the black men, are seen as threats to these people. And if we know that they have infiltrated law enforcement, then we know that there is a premeditated desire to put individuals down. And I feel like that's not hyperbole if we are to believe that report. So we have a report that says white supremacists have infiltrated law enforcement. We have law enforcement officers killing unarmed black people. That's, you know, so, but as far as racism goes and whether or not black people can be racist, I know you segued to say we can't say that all white people are a particular thing and et cetera like that. And I don't generalize. I don't think all white people are one thing, or all black people are one thing, or all Chinese people, or, you know, whatever. I do stick to my premise that as it relates to power and enforcing your will on another people, as we know has been done to our people throughout our time in this country and around the world, with regards to imperialistic and colonial racism, we can't display that. We can't. We haven't, and we can't. And so, while I agree with you on the dictionary definition of people thinking that they're superior or disliking a group of people, etc., that's fine. And I will concede to you on that. But if we're talking about the more modern connotation, which is a group of people having the ability to enforce their will on another people, having power over another people, enforcing that power, using that power to deny basic human rights, jobs, you know, basic comfort and living, and different things of that nature to a particular group of people, denying housing, cars, credit, etc. Black people don't have that. Black people experience that. And so I continue to assert that we can't be racist in that context. Again, we can be prejudiced. We can be bigoted. We can't be racist. And to finish my statement, I'm gonna share my screen for a second, and I'm gonna let our brother, the good doctor Michael Eric Dyson, further hit home my point, because I don't know if I'm articulating myself well enough.
For those of you who have heard similar viewpoints espoused by similar people, let me tell you this. That kind of lethal ignorance, that kind of viewpoint that disparages Black people, number one, that condescends and talks down to us, number two, that draws specious, spurious parallels between white racism and Black racism. Racism presupposes the ability to control a significant segment of the population economically, politically, and socially by imposing law, covenant, and restriction on their lives. Black people ain't had no capacity to do that. Can we be bigoted? Yes. Can we be prejudiced? Yes. Racist? No. The unintelligence of the formulation is problematic when any Black person says that. Number three, when Black people begin to spew this notion that 96% of Black people are racist because we vote for a Black candidate, suggests that all white people who vote for all white candidates are therefore also unavoidably racist. By that logic, everybody in the world is racist and it balances out, doesn't it? It makes no sense. It is illogical and irrational to its core. What we see when we hear these kinds of comments are lethal self-hatred, the denial of the humanity to Black people that we see reflected in the dominant white society, refracted through the prism of our own Black lives. Unmolested by enlightenment, such people are peripatetic, that is, walking around virtuous, not in terms of their virtue, but virtuous, virtual expressions of degraded self-hatred. I feel sorry. I feel horrible when I'm in the presence of such mean-speaking, ignorance-spewing, incredibly cantankerous viewpoints that don't honor the integrity, the beauty, the diversity, the complexity, and the wondrous, rapturous intelligence of Black people. That's why I hang with Black folk all the time, because I know better than that. You heard?
And I you know, that's kind of my sentiments with regards to the issue. I think that we kind of lose track of the fact that we are powerless to control any law, any policy, any exertion of will in this country and in this world with regards to imposing our viewpoints onto another people. And so from that standpoint, again, I don't see us as being racist. But like I said, from a dictionary definition, my brother got me and I concede that. But again, from a more modern connotation, with everything that's involved or enveloped within that modern dichotomy of race, I think that my stance is the more accurate one. And with that, I'm done, and I'm gonna let my brother Trust close out.
Appreciate it, brother Pianki. Appreciate it, man. And I appreciate you giving me that dictionary knocked out. You know what I'm saying? Based off that. What I was going to say is I understand your concept all the way. I feel like the word race or racism or racist gets thrown around a lot. I figure out since it's not a definition for the context in which you explained it, they need to come up with another word. Because based off the definition, that's not the meaning of it. You know, it's a person being in power and able to carry out their racism. That's not the definition of being racist. So as you and I agree to, based off the definition, then anybody can be racist. So I feel like for the context that you gave, you know, words are added to the dictionary every day. I feel like people should come up with another term or another word to describe that type of context, rather than honestly flat out lying based off the definition and saying that Black people can't be racist, you know. And when it comes to the FBI agent and what he said, I don't disagree with him. I'm pretty sure white supremacists have infiltrated the police force, but what they don't tell you is that there are also people on the police force who are NCAACP. There are also Muslims on the police force. There are Christians on the police force. There are all types of groups of people that are on the police force. Now, coming from his narrative, that was just the only narrative that he chose to spoke on at that time. So it doesn't negate that there are other organizations or people with different beliefs on the police force as well. Now, me, I stay in Texas, and I could be wrong on the timeline, but as long as I've been alive, our police chiefs and their successors and in the surrounding neighborhoods, they're all black. All our police chiefs are either a black woman or a black man, and it's been like that for, probably not since I've been alive, but as long as I can remember, put it like that. So the police chiefs give orders to the people that are under them. Now, they may have racist people on their force, and that's where I was going back to when I said I know people who are police members, and they let it be known that when it comes to these people who they are under and the people who they're around, they chiefs don't have that stuff. If they get a notion of anybody being racist on their force, regardless of what their skin color are, those people are fighting. Regardless if the overall scale may be bigger than the police chief when, you go to like the official government or the Supreme Court, here in their area, in their position, in the power that they hold, because they do have power to fire anybody on the force that they want, they do those things according to the police officers and people, the men of service who I know. And of course, I have a military family, Air Force, Navy, and the Army. So, that goes a long way throughout my family, in which I get my worldview to as well, because a lot of the males and females who have been in the armed forces in my family, they sit and fought on side of white people who they are friends with today, who they would be willing to give their life for more than anybody else. And that white person feels the same way about them. And me also, I also attend a multicultural church where majority of black people attend all black churches. Now, my church that I founded is an all black church, but the church that my family goes to, we're multicultural. We have black, we have white, we have Mexican, and it's great. You know what I'm saying? And it is no lines drawn, even if we're talking about police cases, regarding all this stuff, we all come to the same conclusion on what's wrong, what's right, what's this, what's that. So me having experience firsthand with different races of people, I know that a characteristic is based off of an individual and not a group of people. And that's pretty much everything that I wanted to address. And like I said, I just going off the definition of the word, I feel like people should come up with another word or another meaning to define what they mean, rather than using the word racist out of the context in which every dictionary agrees to the meaning of that word. And I want to just say I had a great time, man, on this dialogue that we had today. And I'm looking forward to doing more dialogues with you in the future, and us giving our opinion and giving these facts and, just feeding knowledge to your viewers and to your listeners. And if y'all willing, subscribe to the Trust and Believe the Gospel channel, man. I'm intermingled with the paradigm shift, man, and y'all can expect to see big things coming from me and Brother Pianki in the future. And we just wish to have y'all support, and y'all get behind us, man, to help us grow. That's it, Brother P.
No doubt, no doubt. And, much respect to my brother, Trust and Believe the Gospel. Like you said, we looking to build this channel and his channel as well. And so, I think this was a good dialogue. Brother made some good points. Hopefully I made some good points as well. And, we're going to let y'all decide on who made the most sense. That said, this has been Paradigm Shift TV 314. And y'all come back and build with us. Until next time, hotel.